We're dealing with nothing less than a climate emergency.
The future of the planet is at stake.
And a big part of that is about the scale of carbon emissions worldwide.
So what's going to be done to tackle that in Ireland, and how will it affect you? The government has agreed, as part of a global deal, to cut the level of emissions in Ireland. One part of the plan is to increase the carbon tax. Over the next decade, it's set to quadruple.
That, the government hopes, will push us all to use less fossil fuels. Oil, gas, coal, turf, any fuel dug out of the ground contains carbon, and burning them causes carbon emissions, which causes climate change, and obviously that's not good. So how do governments find a way to reduce our use of these fuels? One answer in the mix here is to up the carbon tax.
Right now, a tonne of carbon dioxide emissions is priced at €20. Every litre of petrol or bag of coal will contain some quantity of carbon, which is then taxed based on that figure. If a litre of petrol costs you €1.40, then the carbon tax element of it is about 5 cents. For an average tank fill of 60 litres, if the carbon tax were to be doubled, it would go up by around €3.50. Quadrupled, it would add about €10 to the cost of filling your car.
But a typical fill of home heating oil would go up by around €50 if the tax was doubled, and by around €155 when the tax reaches €80 a tonne. And that's where the concerns about the carbon tax disproportionately hitting people on lower incomes come in.
If you're on a lower income, chances are you won't have had the money to insulate or retrofit your home or invest in a modern heating system like a heat pump. In the same way, buying an electric car is still outside the reach of most people, even with government grants.
The fear is the tax increase will hit poorer people without giving them a viable option to cut back on their carbon emissions. Now, the Department of Finance says it's working on ways to address that, but either way, it seems the tax is going up.
One of the ideas being considered is a cashback scheme. All the money taken in by the government would be divided out and paid back to us all. Basically, you get a cheque in the post. The thinking being, if you do something to use less carbon, you might make a profit on the deal. But if you continue your carbon-burning behaviour, you'd lose.
Another option would be to give back some of the carbon tax to those on lower incomes through a special payment, maybe through the social welfare system. And another option would be to use the carbon tax in a targeted way to subsidise schemes like home insulation.
But even so, there's a bigger question here. Will an increase in the carbon tax achieve the aim of reducing our emissions?
The theory goes that it signals to us that using fossil fuels will be more expensive in the future, and that will encourage us to buy electric cars and to retrofit our homes. But this isn't like switching to a reusable shopping bag. Electric cars and new home heating systems are big investments for people on average incomes.
We've had a carbon tax for almost a decade now. The Environmental Protection Agency forecasts, with a growing population and expanding economy, that even with this and a big electric car programme, emissions from transport alone will increase by between 17% and 20% over the next decade.
This is all a reminder that while it's one important part, the carbon tax alone won't solve our climate emergency.